Bismillah Rahman Rahim. Assalamu alaikum, my dear learners. I'm your English teacher, Zia Hamid. I hope, students, that you're doing well. Welcome to the Chase Academy and a very warm welcome to English Grade 11. My dear learners, today the SLO that we will be talking about is related to the competency of reading. And now, this is the SLO that we will cover. This is our lecture number 6B, and the SLO is about reading. So it says read, view, and analyze. And we are supposed to do all these things, these actions, on a variety of reading grade appropriate and high interest books and texts from print and the non-print sources. So it means that this SLO and these action words, they are applied on all these different kinds of texts related to your grade level and your interest. And for that, we are today analyzing poetry, free verse, narrative, and rhythmic. For this purpose, we have a poem under discussion in the book, and we are going to focus on that. And furthermore, in the chapter, if you see, you can find a story, personal recounts, and you can apply those things, apply this SLO on that as well. We are going to analyze our poem today. It is called The Road Not Taken by Robert Frost. Now, students, let's talk about, here is your vertical linkage of grade 10, and this is exactly the same SLO that was covered in the previous grade. So this is a continuity and a vertical linkage between these two SLOs. Now let's talk about the brainstorming session. Students, when we are reading, we read a lot of different type of texts. Fiction, non-fiction, we read poetry, biographies, we read newspapers, blogs, magazines, articles, and so many other types of texts. Now, students, I want you to recall whatever we have learned about poems or poetry. Let's see what a poem is made up of. A poem has different elements. It is made up of different stanzas that are made up of different verses, and the verses can be in the pattern, it can be in a rhythm, and you can find a rhyme scheme of that poem as well. Every poem has a theme, a central idea, or maybe more than one or two central ideas for understanding. A poem is very meaningful. It is the oldest form of literature, and a poetry is made up of figurative language. Yes, for that matter, we have learned figures of speech, we have learned the poetic devices or literary devices. So these are all of these things, they make up poetry. And we know that a poem is either it can be rhythmic, it means it has rhyme scheme, it has rhyming words, or it cannot have any rhyming words. It can be a free poem, or it can be a narrative poem that also contains a story, a narrative, and it can be in the form of rhythm. So these are the three types of poetry that we have discussed in previous lesson as well. So for now, let's talk about the following: The Road Not Taken. Now, students, I hope that you have opened up your books. The Road Not Taken is a very famous poem by Robert Frost. Here, as usual, before reading anything, we need to apply some reading strategies. And for that purpose, we know that pre-reading, while reading, and post-reading strategies are very much important. When we consider these questions before reading something, we read with intense focus and we definitely find answers to our questions. So, the pre-reading questions that we have today is, number one, what do you think? What do you do when you have to choose between two things? For example, you have to choose between two options, and they can be a lot of different categories. So how do you make your choice? How do you make your choice in life, in career, in education? So think about it. Yes, definitely the poem talks about making decisions between two equally evaluated things. Next question is, you have two options for your weekend activity. Go to the movies with friends or stay home and read a new book you just bought. Now, you have these two options, these two choices. Which option would you choose, and also state why? Now, let's think about it for a moment. You can pause the video if you're listening to this lesson in the class, or if you're listening it alone, just pause the video, think about it. Why do we prefer one thing over the other? How do we make choices? Was there any time when it was very difficult for you to make a choice? Maybe about your career, maybe about your education, or something else. Think about it. All right, students, I hope that you have thought about it. So this was food for thought for today. Now here is the text of the poem that is under discussion. The Road Not Taken. It is made up of 4 stanzas. Let's see. Two roads diverged in a yellow wood. Yes, 2 roads. And they are going in a yellow wood. And sorry, I could not travel both. And be one traveler, long I stood and looked down one as far as I could to where it bent in the undergrowth. Now, students, the first stanza talks about a dilemma. This is a very confusing thing for the poet to decide which road to take. These 2 roads are in front of him and they are going in the woods. So, which road is he going to decide? Let's see. And of course, I could not travel both. He cannot travel both the roads. He has to make a choice. And be one traveler, long I stood and looked down one as far as I could to where it bent in the undergrowth. So he paused for a moment, waited, thought about it, thought about the choice, thought about the options he had, that which road is leading to what path, and how long is the road. Is one shorter than the other? Maybe one could be a shortcut and the other road could be a long route. So he said that standing there, I fixed my gaze and I looked which road is going where and where is it bending. So it means that he's thinking about the choices. He's pondering upon his decision, that what he is going to make. In the next stanza, then took the other as just as fair. So he took the other road and he thought that it is fair and having perhaps the better claim because it was grassy and wanted wear. Though as for that the passing there had warned them really about the same. So when he was there, he thought that, okay, I've took the road. It is looking fair. It is looking equal and just. I've not made a bad choice. And having perhaps the better claim because it was grassy and wanted wear. The road was okay, it was grassy, though as for that passing there had warned them really about the same. Because if you pass by that road over and again, maybe that road will start looking like the other road. So he's still pondering, he's still thinking about this dilemma, this problem and this confusion. Stanza number 3 says, and both that morning equally lay in leaves, no step had trodden black. Oh, I kept the first for another day. Yet, knowing how way leads on to way, I doubted if I should ever come back. I shall be telling this with a sigh, somewhere ages and ages hence. 2 roads diverged in a wood, and I took the one less traveled by, and that has made all the difference. So at the end, he said that I have chosen the less traveled road, and that makes him feel better about himself, that he has not made a poor choice. So this was all about the poem. Now, students, all of us, maybe we some way or the other, we have faced this kind of problem in life, and it's very important that we learn a lot of lessons from this poem. Now, let's talk about the kind of poem it is. Now, this is not a free verse poem. We can see a rhythm, we can see a pattern over here. For example, if we go back to the first stanza, could, should. These are rhyming. Let's name them alphabet A, both and could and growth. Both and growth. So A, B and could, yes. Would should and could. A, B, A, B. This is the rhyme scheme. Where, A, claim, same, B. All right. And there, fair, there. A, B. This is the rhyme pattern. This is the rhyme scheme. So it means that this poem is a rhythmic poem. It's not a free verse poem. And now let's talk about, yes, for the third stanza, lay day, black and way and back. A, B, sigh, I, A, hence and difference. B, and then by. I, by, sigh. They are rhyming. So you can see that the whole scheme, the rhyme pattern, is followed in all these four stanzas equally. So this is how the poet has structured the whole poem. Now, students, let's talk about the theme of the poem. What is the poem telling us? What is it talking about? The central theme, or you can say the central idea in the poem, The Road Not Taken, is about conformity versus individuality. Conformity versus individuality. The protagonist or the speaker or the narrator is faced with a choice in life, and he has to decide whether he will do as people have done, either he will do with the most common choice, or if he should try something new. So at the end, he was very happy that he chose the road that was less traveled by. When he traveled through that road, he saw that it is very grassy, it is less traveled, so he was very confident and he was very happy that he chose the road that is less traveled. So it means that he chose the option that was not chosen by most of the people. It was not common, it was different. So it means that he preferred individuality over conformity. Now, let's talk about the poet over here. Here is a very short introduction of the poet. Students, learning about the poet, having a background about the poet is very much important when you are analyzing a poem or when you are explaining it. So, here, Robert Lee Frost, March 26, 1874 till January 29, 1963, was an American poet. His work was initially published in England before it was published in the United States. Though he was American, but his work was published first in England and then in his country. Known for his realistic depictions of rural life and his command of American colloquial speech, Frost is the only poet to receive the 4 Pulitzer Prizes for poetry. He became one of America's rare public literary figures, almost an artistic institution. So this tells us about the importance of the poet Robert Lee Frost and his influence on poetry in America. So by learning about the poet, you can actually learn a lot about the poem itself. So it's very important, dear learners, that you have a background check, that you have that you understand the history of the poet. Where is he coming from? Which country does he live? Did he used to live? So all these things are very important when we are analyzing a poem. So whenever we are reading poetry, we should think about the poet or the poetess as well. Now let's move on. I hope that you have understood everything till now. I would request you to read the poem over and again, and you will learn so much more each time when you will read it. Now students, these are the comprehension questions. It is very much important that we respond to whatever text we are reading, because it will elevate our understanding. And comprehension questions, answering them, they will reflect our understanding, and you can actually learn so much about the poet and the poem. Now, let's talk about the first question. Explore the central themes or ideas presented in the poem. Examples may include the choices, life path, and the consequences of the decisions. So what is the main theme? It is conformity versus individuality, having choices, choosing the right thing, facing dilemmas of life. Then How does the speaker convey the dilemma of choosing between two paths, and what factor influenced the speaker's decision? Yes, he thought that the road that was less traveled was good because not many people have gone through that road. So that's how he made a choice. First, he stood over there, he looked as far as he could, and then he made a choice. It means he thought carefully about these two options. In the third stanza, the speaker mentions keeping the first road for another day. He said, yes, I will travel this road any other day to find what is in that road, what could be the significance of this decision, and how does it reflect the speaker's mindset. The speaker is very curious. He does not want to be clueless about the other option. He wants to explore that option as well. So he said that I will travel this road some other day. What is the rhyming scheme? We have talked about the rhyming scheme. Identify the use of figures of speech. Yes, metaphor, simile. You can look for all these different kinds of figures of speech in the poem. Give reference to the context and explain the stanza in your own words. Students, you can choose any one of the four stanzas and write about it. What might the yellow road symbolizes, and how does it contribute to the overall atmosphere of the poem? Yes. So all these questions are very much important. Now let's talk about your question that is headed talk about the text. So whenever we are reading a text, we need to talk about it. We need to share our ideas. We need to read other people's reading critically. And that's how we do it. How does the poet use language and imagery to convey the idea that both roads were worn about the same, despite the initial perception of one being less traveled? So at the end, we know that the poet thought about it. He found out that the other road was also like this. So he decided that he will explore it some other day. Now, students, we can talk about the language and imagery. The language is quite optimistic. The language is straightforward. And if we talk about imagery, images that come in our mind while we were reading the poem, the poet has used imagery, images like yellow road. He talked about grassy road. He talked about two roads diverging in the in some place. So he has used so many different images and also symbols for us to visualize. So you can talk about these different instances of imagery and symbols in your answer. So this is how you will talk about the text and solve all the remaining comprehension questions by yourself. I just gave you a very quick idea about solving these comprehension questions. Now, hence this proved our students' learning outcome. We have achieved. You will get a worksheet and this PowerPoint presentation. You have your books. You can read different poems from the book and then think about the rhyme scheme. Think about what kind of poetry is it. Is it rhythmic, narrative, or free verse? And then answer the following questions that are there. Thank you so much. I'll see you in the next video lesson. Till then, take care of yourselves and Allah.